Hello and welcome back. It's part 3 of Daily Number. It's huge, where we learn to be a better gamer. We looked at the long-term play of Snute as he is doing bloated layer tech. Layering for a long time and going for a hive at like 20 minutes. Screw hive. We don't need none of that junk. What we're going to see now is another game of Snute doing a similar kind of defensive setup. We'll talk through it at a lot quicker speed, and we'll see again how the questions that are posed to Snute by the Protoss, such as how do you defend this? How do you deal with this attack? Snute will answer with layer tech. Snute's going to do some very smart things, some very unusual looking things. This game looks very cool, very different from the last game. So, let's go into the Snute cam. Into the Snute cam. Into the Snute cam. Snute, Snute, Snute. Alright, this is what Snute is going to be doing. Snute is going to begin by doing the typical play, going for the pool at around 15. Occasionally players will go for 14, but occasionally players aren't cool. Zing! Then we see the expand following that up. A drone would like to expand here at 4 minutes and 15 seconds. However, Todd will block it. As I said in the last game, you will almost always have the opportunity to get an Overlord into the Protoss's base and see what's up, whether it be an expand, whether it be late geysers, or whether it be just very on-time geysers. Todd is doing a very on-time geyser build, so Snute may pull back here and try to get a sense of whether there's any harassment coming. In the meantime, Snute doing intuitive answers. This is all typical. This is all to be expected. Come on, Snute! Snute! Zerglings at the front will also be able to spot Zealots and this sort of thing. In the meantime, though, 1 queen, 2 queen, and soon enough, 3 queen will be popping out. The Zerglings work their way in to get a good read of what's going on inside Todd's base. This is an informational play. The Zerglings were trying to get a sense of whether Zealots are being built. And very nicely, for Snute, he sees, ooh, no gases yet. Ain't no gases going down. So 1 more puke from Snute, and then Snute's going to head on down. Double geysering. I will note that this double gassing happened a little after 6 minutes. Still a very typical timing. Around 6 minutes is when these gas geysers go down. So you'll notice that Snute, who's at 3 queens, is making a 4th queen. Where? At the location where it's most likely for the mothership core harass to end up happening. And then at 7 minutes, still throwing down a Roach Warren. Why is there no layer? Why is speed going down so much earlier? Because Snute has seen delay gas. Wow, you're probably attacking me. Snute has seen an early Zealot. Wow, probably means you're attacking me. Cool. Really simple. If there was no attacking like this, if there was no delay in gas like this, Snute would very likely just be droning it up and layering it up. So great, we've seen a little bit of an adjustment, something slightly different from last game. We also see how this pair of queens aptly deals with a mothership core that was not controlled. So if we see that he is giving us the signs of attacking, and yet doesn't really have that many units, well, he could very well be expanding. I mean, or more bluntly, always check the damn expansions. Very easy. So cool. Here's the situation that Snute has found himself in. He's delayed his layer tech, and he sees phoenixes. To be a little more explicit, I do want to note that Snute saw a bunch of phoenixes come in at the last second. Like, the layer is like halfway done. Phoenixes, oh my god. And so in response, Snute just goes spore, 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 and we'll need to spore up in the main base. Lots of phoenixes coming out. How many more phoenixes will be coming out? An excellent question. Now, we could answer how do we deal with this sort of play with a lot of phoenixes. Snute, interestingly, selects Spire as his tech of choice. Spire, and seemingly paradoxically, but not if you think about it, Snute is going to be massing what unit? What unit is he going to be massing? Old Snoot's going to mass Zerglings. Zerglings. There's too many of them for the Phoenixes to effectively lift. Bases. Phoenixes cannot lift, literally. So cool. And then these upgrades allow us to be good against Zealots. These Banelings also allow us to be good against Zealots. So Snoot not doing the more traditional go for Infestor to goop them up and then tech to Hive quickly. No, man, he's going to go layer mode. Look at that, getting the macro hatch up, just like we saw beforehand. He's gearing up to take those extra bases. To take them up. So we see a couple Banelings being produced. Zealot Phoenix harassment, quite common nowadays. Really good way to try to abuse the Zergies who are getting a little overeager. And this would ordinarily be a losing battle for Snoot, but he has the +1 armor upgrade, which makes his Zerglings very good against Zealots. Don't you love the Leia tech? And now, massing Corruptors, Snoot is going to completely seize air control. And if Todd doesn't vie for more Phoenixes, and vie for that air control, Snoot can just go frickin' mass Mutalisk. He has the gas to. And Snoot's just going to continue to apply a frick ton of pressure. A little bit on the reckless end. This is what we're seeing. Reckless abandon with these units. Makes sense, though. We're up against Phoenix Zealot. So we may as well mass Lings and Banelings and Corruptors. Use these layer tech units to deal with it. We can even be a boss like Snoot and just blast down the front door. Very different set of decisions. And now we lose this base, but we have the Corruptors up, wherever the heck they are. Actually, where are the Corruptors? Let me click on them. Ah, I found them. Doing damage here, doing damage here. Hurling units at the front. Even, kind of, but still slightly favoring Protoss. And now our Ling, Baneling cannot be lifted because we have the Corruptors out. Alright, cool. We're in this position where we have a lead against our Protoss player, almost certainly. How would we exploit this in Wings of Liberty? We would go, oh, I can get my Hive and you can't attack me. I'm going to build drones. Oh, some infestors? No, none of that, Kermit. Kermit, the wall player. Just continues to go for the layer tech, rounding out the layer tech, going for Hydralisks. Getting the roach speed. Rounding that out. See the Phoenixes showing up, no big deal. Corruptors go there, and the Zerglings look for any opportunity to attack that they humanly possibly can. Such as all of them. Throwing that goody goodness up. Not the best engagements. Not the most ridiculously profitable exchanges. In fact, Snoot is slowly going to begin falling behind yet again. But positionally, shutting Protoss out of a 4th base. Snoot maintaining the lead in this regard. Doesn't have a gigantic worker count, but has a gigantic one compared to his opponent. Now, I don't think range is done yet. Nope, just goes for speed so he can begin the attacking. Oh yeah. And then yet again, a ridiculously late layer tech. Just redonkulously late. Still trying to solve all his problems with the layer. Some annoying Phoenix-ness, no big deal. Just continuing to do these attacks. Why? Because it shuts Todd out of a 4th. He's being just so freaking shut out of a 4th base right now. He just has like no bases, man. And soon enough, Snoot is going to overrun. Now, any Zerg 200 army is going to beat virtually any 131 food Protoss army. And Snoot is happy to do the shove back. And then as we see, normally with the Hive tech being done, the average Zerg player would focus exclusively on that. But instead, really favoring these ground units. No need to really get any infestors at any point. Just relying on the rather unusual choice to go for the Spire Baneling pressure. to deal with some sort of air opening. And cool, look, more Zerglings being produced. Another expand going down. Brewlord Infestor cannot expand right there at this position. But Snute, those Corruptors he made at the start of the game, great. They're going to go into Broodlords, but mainly it's the ground stuff. Adrenal glands, lings, hydras, some roaches. And in true Swarm style, Snute closes the game out. Pretty basic closeout, given the excellent setup Snute provided for himself. But still odd when compared to the way that Zergs traditionally go about it. So let me go ahead and subscribers off. Let me go ahead and take some questions based upon the play we just saw. Do want to note while the questions are coming in that After Hours Gaming League semifinals between Storm8 and Amazon coming up in a few minutes. Yeah. From Christ1337 says, Dear Day 9, as you've shown in the last 2 days, Snute always goes for the early layer. And seeing that it is so strong, what do you think Terrans and Protosses should do to counter that? You know, I would say that, let me first note that I'm hungry, so I'm going to take a bite. Let me first note that it's not so much, I want to de-emphasize the notion that the type of play we saw Snute do today is somehow overly strong or going to be the big revolution that changes it all. In reality, it's a different kind of style, and we're looking at why the style works at all, as opposed to being something that has a little bit of pressure in the mid-game and then collapses. So I would say that the best way to deal with this sort of play from Snute is largely by being, well, there's a number of ways to deal with it. The best one that we saw VPro do is just be a good defender. VPro basically defended for a really long time and was very close to tipping the balance in a lot of those circumstances. I do think that the Zealot is going to become an increasing key. We've been seeing players who open up Stalker Colossus transition into more Speed Zealot, Immortal Colossus with some Archons, and that's been very, very effective against these sorts of mid-game armies. I don't see a lot of Storm used. I saw Baby Knight try to utilize some of that, but let's see. I mean, for the most part, it's just good positioning, good defense, and making sure... Oh, here's one to note. Building slightly fewer gateways and spending slightly more money on cannons is a really big one. I've been watching Grubby stream a lot, and a lot of Zerg players are doing this appropriately. Popular bloated layer style. And where a lot of players would get 7 gates in one circumstance. Grubby will get 6 and kind of just build up extra cannons. And that's been quite effective. Expand plus Harass, I suppose, would also be another good tool. If you're not on the super defensive, doing some sort of Warp Prism play that's somewhat limited, not doing like an 8 Zealot Warp In, but just a little bit of Zealot Warp In so he pulls some forces back so you can expand. Yeah. That's my point. Yeah. Let's see. Lunasox says, Day 9, do you feel like this is the most effective way to deal with Protoss Zerg? Or should we try to find a way to optimize ZvP at mid-game instead? I think it's a certainly very, very effective way. I didn't really touch on the Swarm host today because I like the overwhelming numbers of shit that Snute was using. The There's other openings, like I like Lennox opening, which is to go for 2-base fast Hydra, and then get Swarm Hosts and a 3rd base up. Really cool pressure. That's really cool. Also going for other things like geez, I'm blanking hard. What the hell am I talking about? What? Yeah, I actually think that the standard sort of infester type play can be reasonably effective. I think it can be reasonably effective. Mutiling works. That Lennox style works. This sort of bloated layer style works. It's just a lot more attacking, and especially it's cool because I think a lot of the basic big roach mid games can throw in Hydras, get the normal layer time or the normal hive timing, which is around 13 minutes, and then do a 15-minute attack with Blinding Cloud. That's another way to do it. I think that the number of options Zerg has in the mid game is actually quite big, which is why I'm thrilled. Let's take one more because I got to do an After Hours Gaming League casts. A lot of people are asking this. Tribution, Sam User 1234, both asking about the Immortal Sentry All-In. In regards to the Immortal Sentry All-In, it's still damn hard to hold off. Why? Because it hits at around 9:30 to 9:45. And our mega cool layer tech happens after that time. So we gotta deal with the standard crap. So, I think with Snute getting so many drones early on, counterattacking is probably going to be the big key. I'm going to lean towards counterattacking in that spot. The reason why I'm so hesitant to just give like a, up there, it's like that, is it's a super, super mechanics timing-based answer. How do you hold off an Immortal Sentry All-In? Well, you make sure you're not missing any larva injects, and, you know, right when you get, I think it's like larva inject 4 pops off, if you get a certain amount of information, 2 of them should be drones, but the 3rd one needs to be a set of lings to begin shoving out, and or sometimes you want to take half of that larva inject that pops off the other hatch. You got to make sure that goes in there. It's all that sort of little tiny weird finagly junk that I like to say, here, you figure it out. Because that's really the sort of stuff that's not useful to talk about on a show. It's useful to talk about as you're playing more and more and more. But yeah, I think that there is a more conceptual solution that TLO has proposed, is that if you've overbuilt drones, you struggle against Immortal Sentry All-Ins. If you build 55 drones and build a lot of Zergling Roach, you can probably hold it off a little bit more easily. But if you're at something like 68 or even like 73 or something like that, you have too many drones. So what do? You take your excess money and you build 10 spine crawlers at the top of your main ramp. Select all your Speedling Roach and just counterattack his main, and he can't really hold it. And then you can even build a Nidus network in your main. And as you're counterattacking and as he's unable to get up your ramp, you Nidus network so you have a place to retreat. And then you also Nidus network in his main as another place to attack. And then you win with your 1 base versus his no base. Very, very difficult to execute conceptually, but very strong. Now it's time for the After Hours Gaming League.